Sheriff Riggs is with us. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. What a beautiful morning.
Yeah.
Before we get going with motorcycle laws that we started discussing without any knowledge whatsoever of what we were discussing, county sheriffs and county attorneys from around the state converged on the Capitol yesterday about the 48-hour rule. I'll admit I hadn't seen that there was a change coming. What is the 48-hour rule and what's happening?
So for the longest time, Minnesota has had a law that if you are deemed mentally incompetent to be held in custody, the Department of Health and Human, and that's a process. So you can wait in jail until you've been deemed that. But once the Department of Health and Human Services deems that, the state has 48 hours to get them out of custody, wherever they're at, and into a mental health facility. And this has been ongoing since they closed the state hospitals.
That was going to be my next question. Then where do they go?
Right now we have got Anoka and St. Peter.
For the whole state?
For the whole state. Outside of a few local places, but those aren't state run. Those are privately owned, privately run facilities that take on local entity issues, and it's typically reserved for people that aren't involved with crime. They're just they need more or less emergency service for whatever they're going through right at the time. So having the jail seems to always be the fallback for public, and obviously there's a public safety concern. So if an individual commits a person-related crime and there is a danger to the public, or they're a danger to themselves, they go to jail. But once they've been deemed this way, the state's supposed to get them out of custody and into one of those two facilities. We've had individuals that go to a facility, the facility deems them competent, and they come back, and then they just degrade over time as well. So, but we've had inmates in our custody for a year beyond.
Really?
Supposed to be out of custody within 48 hours. We've had them in our custody for over a year.
Wow.
Yep.
So what were you guys all trying to accomplish yesterday?
So Sheriff Welk from Cass County was one of our representatives on a task force that was just, trying to figure this issue out, and they were with the Attorney General and a number of other professionals, Department of Health and Human Services. They were trying to figure this whole thing out. And one of the sticking points was the state didn't want to be liable for this 48-hour rule. And the 48 hours, we decided we would be willing to pause that, because we don't want them in custody, right? They don't belong in jail. We don't want them there. We want them to get the help that they need. But we decided, if you guys will fund more capacity in the state, we will pause the 48-hour rule. Well, we agreed to that. They paused it in session. And then when we came back to the finance part of it, they dumped it. We went from, I think somebody said yesterday, the Senate had offered $75 million, and and I think that's over the biennium. And then the House offered like $43 million over the biennium. That number
Does
went.
that even put a dent in the total?
We could do some damage with that money. I mean, we could have really done some damage with that money with the $18.5 billion surplus that we had 2 years ago. But none of that money was, and we've been talking about this for over a decade.
Right.
But the reality is they dumped that dollar amount down to $10 million, which does virtually nothing. And then it's locked up in a bonding bill, which
that hasn't passed.
And we saw last year was a bonding year, and they didn't pass one. So, what's to say they're going to pass one this year? And $10 million is, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's a joke. It was as the Washington County attorney explained, this was a bait and switch. And yes, sheriffs are mad about this because we're the ones that are liable for these things. But the state is the one that suffers from this. The state of Minnesota does. And its residents, because you think about it, like currently right now, I have 2 people in custody that are waiting beds, and I have another probably 8 that are going through the process. And that's just Beltrami County.
Wow.
I think yesterday I'd heard after we were done, I think somebody said one of the news organizations had did some research, and they said that I think that there's 63 individuals currently waiting beds right now in the state. I don't think that's even close.
3 or 4 times that.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So if you have contact with legislators, I would strongly encourage you. If you are a champion for mental health in this state, I encourage you to contact your legislators. Tell them to do the right thing. I mean, we throw money at all kinds of stupid things in this state.
Yeah.
Mental health is not. Mental health is about humanity.
Right. Well, okay. We got some homework to do.
All right. I don't even recall how we got talking about new motorcycle law. Takes effect on July 1st. Lane splitting. I don't know what that would ever happen here. 2 lanes of traffic going at such a slow pace that a motorcycle can pass you in between the 2.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking Highway 2 where both cars are going 70 and a motorcycle comes flying between you. That's not what we're talking, is it?
I have personally seen that, but...
Well, that's not what lane
No.
splitting is.
No, correct.
Lane filtering, you're at a stoplight, and a motorcycle can come between the 2 vehicles. Light turns green, motorcycle goes. That can happen in town, correct?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Somebody's brother-in-law was as a lawmaker. We already have a law, like motorcycle pulls up onto a stoplight. Motorcycle's not heavy enough to trigger the sensor. Motorcycle waits a reasonable period of time and determines that it is safe to make a turn. They can do that already. That's common sense. Like but if you have, I don't understand where, if you have 2 vehicles and they split between them, it doesn't make sense in the sense that those 2 vehicles would have the right of way. They've been there waiting, but you know what's going to happen with the motorcycle, right?
The motorcycle's going to win.
The motorcycle's going to win, and they're going to pull out. This is just opening up the door for more issues with motorcycle accidents, in my mind. But I've been chastised for giving my piece on some of these things.
Well, that's another reason not to lose weight. And not trigger the traffic light on my motorcycle.
How did your brain go there? Was law enforcement consulted before this law changed?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know. When that came about, we were all of us in our office were scratching our heads like, this doesn't make any sense. And I got guys that ride motorcycle, right?
And then you guys went, oh, are they doing this in California? Oh, they are? Yeah. Oh, that explains it.
Yeah, well, imagine that. We're going to do the same thing. I think Newsom and Walls might have spent some time at a summer camp back in the day.
They did.
So you got to worry about that.
Well, Mark brought up a good point. Road rage.
Yes. We see it all the time.
Right now you're adding that. Then
Yes.
this motorcycle guy came right between us.
Do you remember the little article that our EM put out about blowing lawn clippings on the road and how bad that blew up for us?
Oh, yeah.
We put that on Facebook, and we regretted every moment of it after the fact. It went viral, and I think I can't remember the exact number of hits that we had on it, But there were some motorcycle hate groups that were just it went just ridiculously wild. But and everybody was offering an opinion, because everybody on Facebook or social media in general just has a tough guy attitude.
All right, blowing your lawn clippings on the road is illegal because it gets into the storm sewer and screws up the lake.
Whoa.
I don't remember what mineral is in the grass clippings.
Uh-huh.
It's not good for the lake.
Okay.
What do motorcycles have to do with that?
Road surface. Like if you're blowing grass into the lake, that you lose the road surface as far as what the single tire, on the track.
Sure.
It's a lot of grass clippings if your motorcycle is getting.
Yeah.
That's always my cleanup lap. Driving blower back onto the.
Yep.
Ain't none of that water's getting to the lake from my place.
Well, evidently the storm sewer meanders right through BSU right to the lake, so let's dig a giant hole.
That's
a lot of dirt.
That is a really big hole.
When you see that, you're like, wow. Think of the backup power those dump trucks have. That's what I was thinking about.
I don't know that I'd want to be on that pushing the pile up the pile. It is so cockeyed. I'm like, man, how does that thing not just tip over?
Well, it's so massive, and there are no mountains in Minnesota, so you don't see a shape like that very often.
BSU just created
Our first mountain.
It's a Black Diamond ski slope out there right now. Right. Anything fun happen this week?
Oh, not really.
Just a convention.
Yeah, the sheriff's conference was this week. I missed it. Had other prior engagements, but they got some work done down at the conference. Updates. I'll be given those updates by notes. So, DNR came. Colonel Smith came and talked to the sheriffs about the new boater laws requiring. If you were born, I think for the next couple of years, if you were born after 2004, you have to have boater safety to operate a boat on a Minnesota lake or a river.
I think there should be a lot of tourists can't.
If you're not from Minnesota.
Well, it is in the law. If you're renting the boat, regardless of your age, you need to have the permit.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
it's probably not a bad idea. Unless you own a boat. But then I've heard stories of new boat owners. There's just certain, I bet your kids have all driven your boat, even when they were little, right?
Yeah, I remember.
As a kid.
Yeah.
First thing you got to drive. In a straight line. In the middle of the lake.
You were hoping it was a straight line. You guys put out a press release yesterday about an arson fire. That just happened yesterday. Investigation happening. I won't go there, but it seemed pretty quick that you were able to determine it was arson. How do you guys do that? Just on any random fire? Of figuring out this looks fishy.
There was a significant amount of evidence immediately.
Is that normal in an arson?
Not typically. Most of the evidence burns up, but this particular incident was there's an overwhelming amount of evidence. So,
Right.
Clues.
That's why law enforcement is so educated. You can spot things that aren't supposed to be there.
And the fire department guys, I suppose, too, huh?
Yeah, we have a great fire department. We have a great the fire marshal the state fire marshal service. They are phenomenal. We've had some really good ones over the years. We've got a newer one, but those guys, they know their stuff. This has been an ongoing science for them for years and years and years, and they do a really good job.
Do they have one here?
I don't know where this individual. Our last individual that worked our area, they were all kind of from the just a little bit north of us, not far north of us, but just a little bit north of us, because they're kind of regionalized. You know, they cover a certain portion of the state, and depending on if you just came to Bemidji, you might see half a dozen to a dozen fires every year that you have to inspect, but they cover a pretty good sized area,
bet.
so they're running, like they don't sit still.
Perfect. Got plans for the weekend?
Finishing up a few home
Chores?
yeah. Mother's Day gift that I should have gotten done on Mother's Day, but
Hey, you're working on it.
I'm working on it. Yep.
Haven't
You've been
forgot.
arresting people and doing stuff.
Haven't
Get it?
forgot. Let's get to it this weekend. Perfect. Thanks for stopping by.
Yep.